part of the next session, we really wanted to hear from, we listened to ICSI this morning and some of what our Ignatian partner is doing. We heard from Joanne and some of what is happening among NGOs and in working with the local government. But it's also important to remember we're talking about sharing in mission, and that CLC is not coming at this without anything, but that we have discerned in the past formation as mission. We have our 4 frontiers in terms of youth, ecology, globalization and poverty, and families. There's work that's been done, things that are there. And so we wanted to just give short period just to remind ourselves of some of this. The first part is a sharing from the Global Formation Encounter, so that we get a sense of, as part of the World CLC, what's the current thinking and reflection that took place in Manresa just a few weeks ago. Over the course of the last year, Tina and Alwyn were part of a group that was reflecting and discerning, and then Tina became part of the core team that helped to put together the program, and Alwyn served as our CLC in the Philippines delegate to Manresa for the Global Formation Encounter. And so we wanted to give some space for them to share a little bit about what's going on in the conversations at the world level in relationship to formation, that will help both in terms of our own thinking about what we might focus on, and also areas of change and transformation in our formation. And then from there, we wanted to also create space just to be reminded of the work of Punlad, a little bit of an update on Horacio de la Costa and the Formation Center in Trece Martires, Cavite, and then also a report from the Youth Development Team, 3 of the areas that are responding to the 4 frontiers. And so we wanted to be able to do that over the next hour or so. So for the first part, we'll turn it over to Tina and Alwyn, who will share their update from the Global Formation Encounter for us.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Kasama ko dito ngayon si Alwyn na magpe-present sa atin ng ating karanasan. No? Okay, so yung ating Global Formation Encounter ay ginawa noong August 9 hanggang 11 sa Manresa, Spain. No? Ito po ang ating mga delegates. Siguro pag-usapan ko muna yung mga bahagi nito, no? Just to give a framework bago magkwento si Alwyn ng kanyang karanasan. No? So it's a global encounter, and there were 49 national CLCs represented with 58 delegates present, plus 9 organizing team members. 3 languages were used during this time. We all had an earpiece in order to understand each other, and there were live translations being done. This being a global work and us being from different countries, it was also quite interesting how we had to develop the program with the team itself having 3 languages all at the same time. So parang learning all of that was quite a pleasure and a challenge. The focus was formation, no? And it was very appropriate that we did it in Manresa, where the life of St. Ignatius unfolded, where his conversion actually became more complete. No? The focus was on the 4 axes of formation that we call, and these emerged as priorities prior to the Global Formation Encounter. So nagkaroon ng survey, I think noong 2020, at ang lumabas doon, ito yung mga major concerns para sa ating mga formators, no, sa ating mga bansa. Spiritual exercises, discernment, yung process of growth, not the book itself, but the actual process that we go through of growing in community, which is based on the book called Process of Growth. At the same time, yung para saan yung ating mission, and formation is really for mission. And of course, this very intriguing word called encounter. No? In the Philippines, we have a different sense of what an encounter is. Na encuentro, laging nababalitaan natin yan kapag may mga pinatay na NPA or merong mga nagpataya na mga militar at saka mga sinusugpo nilang insurgents. No? But as we have heard yesterday from Father Danny, this culture of encounter that Pope Francis is trying to encourage all of us to have, is one that is focused on an encounter with God. That's why this entire encounter was full of prayer experiences, I think the most number of prayer experiences happened on day 2. We had 4 prayer experiences based on the 4 axes. Pinagdadasalan namin bawat isa yan. And then we would come together in spiritual conversation so that we could have an encounter with one another. We also had that encounter in fellowship, no? And that was a very rich experience, as you will hear from Alwin later on. That experience of really listening, of really relating to the other, despite the language barriers. No, we were also grouped into language groups, but even then, no, the ability to actually cull common meanings, no, a common language was also still part of the exciting part, no. And then lastly, no, an encounter with the earth. We had opportunities to pray at the Cardoner River. One of those rare opportunities, no, to really enter into the space where Saint Ignatius has had his own, no, spiritual conversion. And also even in our morning prayer of praying in different directions, no, as we prayed about what direction is our country at and how we want to bring the formation encounter, no, to our own space of encounter locally. Those were very exciting, very interesting experiences. Now, of course, as the part of the organizing team, hindi ko dinanas ang karamihan sa mga ito, no? Ako rin po kasi ay na-assign na maging photographer / videographer / utusan. So medyo mahirap, kaya hindi ko rin talaga lahat dinanas, no? Alwin would have a more comprehensive, more detailed experience, no? Akin mas bird's eye view. And I will now stop sharing so that he can share his screen.
Yung pinanggagalingan ko una ay lugar ng pasasalamat sa CLCP. Mayroon sa inyo nakakaalam nung sitwasyon namin dito. Nasa Roma kaming dalawa ni Rog. Tapos galing sa paglilingkod bilang executive secretary for 5 years. And then we were going home and then we could not dahil 2020 yon at March nag-lockdown yung halos buong mundo. At andito pa rin kami tapos mahirap yung dinaanan. Ang isa sa mga bagay na pinaka nararamdaman namin ay pasasalamat dahil yung panahon na kailangan naming tawirin na hindi kami makauwi. Inalagaan kami ng community. And when I say community, people from CLC Philippines and people from the world community. And for that, we had an experience, a very real experience of being held by something larger than the CLC in the Philippines. And that itself is one experience. And now we are in a situation where we are in a space trying to find the way home, but that way home may be a long way home. Now, from not having work, I have work. I'm a little person in the whole Vatican structure that is also changing right now because of Predicate Evangelium. And that there was also some convenience dahil pwede kaming ipadala ni Tina. At ngayon, nakarating kami sa Manresa. And this, what you see here, is the view from Manresa. That mountain, that jagged mountain, Montserrat, is the view from Manresa. That's where Saint Ignatius came from when he offered his sword and gave his noble clothes and took on the clothes of a beggar. And that's when he walked to Manresa. At pakiramdam ko, meron din tayong pinanggagalingan na ganun dun sa paglalakbay ni San Ignacio na yon. Dahil ewan ko, kung bahagi nga ba ng Ignatian spirituality yung self-torture kasi dinaanan din yun ni Saint Ignatius. But we are also persons of struggle. We struggle because we want to be close to God, like Saint Ignatius. Yung struggle niya, I want to be holy. I want to be so much better than all the saints. And also how he was taught in that place, in Manresa. How this is the river Cardoner and how he was brought to a great illumination there. Amidst, and this is one thing that is that is very striking for me, and we brought you with us here when we touched the stones of that cave that Saint Ignatius frequented when he was there for almost 11 months in Manresa. Saan siya nagdarasal, saan siya nag-fasting, saan niya pinapahirapan yung sarili niya, and also in the end, where he was taught like a pupil by God who was teacher. And that's where the spiritual exercises started to be noted and written. In going there, in that encounter, ang pinaka mahalaga para sa akin ay yung contact with the world community. Yes. And that affirmation that, hey, I am from the Philippines and we are standing and looking at each other eye to eye. And we are in an encounter. To touch the cave of Manresa and at the same time with a yearning to touch my own homeland, which I've been away for quite some time already, is touching. And there, in my encounter with my small faith sharing and small conversation community, there were several invitations that I would like to put forward. Gusto kong malaman if it will resonate because this is something that might be useful also in our current journey as the CLC in the Philippines. So, tatlong tanong para sa CLCP tungkol sa kinalalagyan natin dahil sa mga nakita nung nag-uusap kami. One is, how are we being invited right now to renew and evolve the culture of encounter in CLCP? The crisis in our communities, crisis in leadership, polarities that we have experienced in the past, dala-dala rin ng marami sa buong mundo. And even the little diversities that we have in terms of how to do things, paano natin hahagkan yun? Paano natin dadalhin yun ng sabay-sabay? How do we go from there? And the question of what are real encounters? At sa puntong ito, ang ginagamit nating salita, pakikipagtagpo. Paano yun? Anong itsura nun? Anong pakiramdam nun? Because I feel that we need to know how these encounters can be hosted, not just by guides in CLCP, in our formation, but also by members. Encounters now are becoming a core competence in Pope Francis's change of era. So, ano rin ang ibig sabihin ng leadership ngayon? A leadership that calls for deep hosting and participation for what is emerging. No more hero leadership, but a leadership that is part of something within a group, where leadership is now more about hosting than come follow me, because I know the way. Because everybody now is looking for ways. And then, so I'm echoing, I feel I'm echoing some other conversations here in the National Assembly because the focus on sharing responsibility, yung pakikialaman natin, yung bayanihan natin sa ating sarili-sariling mga misyon, mahalaga. And in the world community, if this is being forgotten, we need to carry this more as we move forward and see how it evolves. We need to look again at the very special gem at the heart of our way of proceeding, Apostolic way of proceeding, which is the DSSE, discerning, sending, supporting, and evaluating. And what it means for how we live our own apostolic lives. Meron bang bahagi sa ating buhay na protected from our community dahil tayo ang nag-decide? Tayo ang nag-discern? What does the expression of a communal way of life look like for CLC? What does it mean to go in depth? What does mission mean? Mission that touches the deepest parts of our own personal callings and charism. Because mission in CLC cannot be all doing one activity. Some of us, all of us, will will have our own personal callings, and that makes up the bulk of our being missionaries of daily life. And so these are, and how do these all figure into evolving the culture of encounter that Pope Francis calls for? Ano na yung ibig sabihin ng pakikipagtagpo sa mga panahon ngayon? The next question, the next invitation that I perceive are, in what ways are we being invited to review our own formation framework? Because there are new things now. And how do we articulate that and make that part of our formation? First, Pope Francis's pastoral itinerary. And we know this very well kasi bahaging-bahagi siya ng ng pamumuhay natin eh. And now CLC is part of those who can understand him very well. The Ignatian view, the language of discernment, and our long language of communal discernment. So that means, how do we put complexity in the picture of our formation? Not just on how we respond, but also how we integrate people into groups, how we move through stages vis-a-vis a kind of linearity where there are gates. And then also reimagining, what is the role of the guide now in a community that is a space for encounter, no more a space of just faith sharing, synthesis, thank you very much, but a place of spiritual conversation where each time we go, we are changed because we have heard something about how the Spirit is speaking to the group. And the third and last is something larger to reflect about. In what ways can we participate in the larger community as CLC? When I say CLC, I'm not always referring to the institutional CLC, where we smith institutional apostolates or institutional ways of working, but CLC persons who can change where they pour their lives into. So sa World CLC, there are communities with needs in formation and they need help. And then how can we collaborate and link resources? Because there is a richness outside. For example, after Buenos Aires, Canada made, I think, a 1 or 2 year process of communal discernment, national communal discernment, to figure out how they need to change and how they need to encounter the questions of Buenos Aires in 2018. And Spain is thinking about how they want to renew their formation frameworks and are proposing a spiral way of looking at our formation. How might that be useful? How can we connect? How can we benefit from each other? Now that one of the fruits of the pandemic is also a greater openness to connecting outside. Along with that is this synodal transformation that the church is being asked to go through. What is CLC's role in that? Be it local and regional church, Asian church? Meron ba tayong maihahandog? Para saan yung communal discernment natin? Para saan yung hosting natin ng conversations and spiritual conversations? And then, how can we help to, or we journey together with our, sabi kanina, kapwa Ignatians? Because we're looking at the same mission and carrying the same gift. And also in the same way, governance, civil society, in the way that both Father Vic Jesus, Joanne, and all of the others, not just institutionally, a way of supporting emergent desires and invitations and not doing it top down. So how do these invitations resonate, if they do? I end my sharing with this mosaic of St. Ignatius' vision in Las Torta. And if you can look at that, this is also a symbol of being an apostolic body. Ignatius here shares one eye with Jesus, and they both carry the cross together. part of the journey from La Storta to Rome was that promise of being favored. And this is a promise also that exists for us. Not favor of privilege, but promise of a beautiful future. Na hindi pa tapos, na may nag-aantay at maganda yon. At saka, katulad nung larawan na to, sama-sama tayo. Yun yung gusto kong ibahagi, mga bunga at saka na baka makatulong sa pagninilay natin sa pag-akbang sa hinaharap. Yun lang po.
Maraming salamat, Alwin. No? Kung napapansin nyo na nag-share ng parehong mata si Jesus at si Ignacio, yan ay dahil Ignatius wants to see all things new in Christ. And the only way to do that is to actually see as he sees. No? And to just add a little bit no, to his sharing, we had a rare opportunity nga, no, to be at the Cardona River. Siyempre ito posing ko na lang to, no? Pero the Cardona River is a very murky body of water, very small, hindi ka pwedeng maligo dito. But across it is this church, the Church of Lesu, where Ignatius prayed much, no? And in this experience of praying together, no, I think it's dagdag ko lang siguro dun sa kaunting panahon ko na nakapagnilay din ako, no? I think it's an invitation for me in my own journey as a formator, and to some extent as a fellow formator of other formators, to look into this body of water and to try to glean something from it. No? Kahit na hindi laging malinaw yung ating nakikita sa ilalim niyan, merong kalinawan kapag ang tinitignan natin ay, pag ang ginagamit natin ay hindi lang ating mga mata, no? When we borrow the eyes of Christ. Also a great invitation for me to look to Mary, who really is the model of disponibility and joy in following Jesus. No? Alwin and I had an opportunity after the GFE to visit Manresa, to visit Montserrat, no? Where we had a moment with the Virgin, and we were able to pray, no, and to reach out to her and to pray for CLC Philippines, no. It was a moment to really come, adore, and be in reverence, and to bring the community that we hold dear, no, before her. In the same way na hindi ko na sinama dito yung sword, yung pagbisita namin sa sword ni San Ignacio, no. Pero ano yung kinalabasan as outputs po, no, na magiging mahalaga para sa atin? The global formation encounter participants looked at each of the access points, and because of all the prayer and sharing and spiritual conversations, have prioritized certain objectives, no, that can inform the way we will proceed as a world community in France in the next World Assembly. So let me just read for you the priorities as prayed about and as discerned by this body, no, of formators. Number 1 is formation of lay guides and retreats. And number 2, propose creative ways for specs to adapt to local needs. On the front of discernment, there were 2 objectives identified, no, really bringing to the forefront, no, the importance of the DSSE to be used in all countries, not just in a few, no? And to really let it trickle down. No? So providing all the necessary resources to enable this, no? So even this, to provide the resources. Number 2, to set up networks of guides and facilitators around the world. So this idea of world collaboration is so real, no? In the objectives that were arrived at. Our process of growth, no? There were a few more objectives than the others, because there were also more small groups that handled this, no? So more sharing in a network of care. Take note, no? Network of care, hindi lang basta sharing of experiences and materials, no? In a well-indexed and tagged system, no? Important dyan yung network of care. Training of more guides for development of CLC and for future needs. And then number 2, guides formation and creation of community guides. Number 3, review, clarify, and simplify the document on the process of growth so that it can be more understandable, more digestible for the local needs. Number 4, to strengthen or foster the practice of DSSE as a way of proceeding in the communal life. No? So kita natin may intersections itong process of growth, no, and the 2 other axes of formation. And of course, no, formation, to foster networks of spaces, supporting, engaging, and communication in different thematic apostolic areas. So not just the frontiers, no, but also being mindful of emerging frontiers and even currently existing frontiers natin. No? Number 2, encourage the creation of dialogue among work and national formation teams. And number 3, identify a permanent service for the management of capacities, resources, funds, and contacts at the regional level, but from a global coordination to strengthen the axis of formation in the global CLC. It's quite a lot, no? And what we have done was to help each of the small groups that handled, no, how to make this more real. There were suggestions on how to make this more concrete, but I will reserve that in a presentation to the next LC. But at least for the body to know that there is a consciousness that is growing among the countries that were represented. That formation is indeed an important tool for mission, that we need to look at the ways in which we are being formed, how we are being formed, who is forming the partners that we have in formation, to look at those gifts as well as those limitations, and to seek ways not to move forward together. At the end of this, we had an availability form that was filled out by 35 formators that were present here. 35 who were willing to participate in a global formation team. So I thought that was a really, really good output. No? Merong mga taong handang mag-alay ng sarili at handang maging bahagi ng isang global network of formators. No? And sa akin, from an organizing team's perspective naman, no? Sa akin, I heard some invitations also for the CLC Philippines to discern and act upon, no? Which I offer not just to the body, but most especially to our next LC. No? It's to strengthen our local formation. No? I mean, when was the last real formation that we've had as a community? No? Not that we're not handled by our respective guides. Maybe we need to have a more decided, a more intentional program of formation that we can go through together. No? There are initiatives in this direction, but it needs to be a little bit more intentional. No? Number 2, enabling, strengthening, and growing our pool of community guides. And this also includes the spiritual exercise guides. No? We have focused a lot on our development of guides for the specs. But when was our last community guides formation? No? It was all the way in 2018 in the last convention. Medyo matagal na rin. No? So I think an ongoing enabling, an ongoing strengthening, and also we need to grow new guides, no? So that we can be the resource that we still are, no? For the world community. And then finally, to share responsibility, resources and time on the local, regional, and world level. No? We're talking about the world level and the regional level, parang ang laking scope. Pero on the local level, no, how are we all trying to be available to form others who are new in community? No? That has been a struggle, and you will hear that later on in future reports. No? So I think sa akin, ang tunay na invitation ay yung mas intentional, no? An intentional living, a way of living that is open to encounter. Not the encounter that we have learned about in martial law days, but the encounter of the other, not othering the other further, but an encounter of the other, our neighbor, and then an encounter of God who is totally other. An invitation to listen to one another, to be in relationship, which has been parang the common thread in most of the sharings from yesterday and today, and to be conscious, no, of that multicultural, multilingual reality that we all are all part of. No? Even in the Philippines, we are so multilingual already. To take that that given and to say, ano ba ang pwede kong pagyamanin dito sa givens na ito? No? Ito yung pangangailangan ng mundo. Totoo rin ba yan sa ating reality bilang Pilipinas, bilang CLC in the Philippines? Paano ako makakatugon bilang miyembro ng isang local community? At paano makakatugon ng ating mga local communities? At dyan nagtatapos ang aking sharing. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Alwin, for the summary and also the invitations that these offer for us. Maybe just take a moment and allow the invitations to settle. We'll have some space for questions at the end of the several presentations this time. As I said at the beginning of this portion, no, it's really looking at the particular areas of response in relationship to the community of CLC in the Philippines. And those of us that are familiar with the statutes, we know that in paragraph 14, there's a number of stated initiatives and apostolic responses that are listed there. And so we listened a little bit about formation, and now we wanted just to give some space for two others that are there. One which is a brief, just kind of update and reminder of Punlad. And then the second is just a reminder about Horacio de la Costa Formation Center. And so Tita Cara has agreed to share a little bit about both, very briefly, just to put them on the agenda for us and bring them to our attention. So Tita Cara, please.
Good afternoon. I got to know really that I will talk about Punlad and last night. Last night I was told during dinner that tomorrow you will give a talk on Punlad and Horacio de la Costa. But Donna Bell was telling me, she was inviting me, no, you better come, you better come. Without telling me also what I will talk about. Anyway, that was good because I don't have to prepare anything. And the only thing I really miss is I have some pictures of Trece. So that's the one that if ever I knew it ahead of time, I will bring that. But you have seen it naman. Alam niyo naman ang Trece. Okay, paano nagsimula ang Trece? Nung unang panahon, in 1969, when we started, we all graduated, and the only thing we did was, we started with a lot of GP sessions and going around the country. That is, I remember we have trips to Zamboanga, to Davao, Cebu, just to share the new GP. And then, those were the times I met Ate Rory, Stan, Ming. Those were the times. Matagal na yun, okay? And then, ang nangyayari, we have to meet all the people that we informed about the GP. We meet every year. When we were in college, we have a meeting already among the students. They call it federation meeting every year. But now, it's different country, different provinces. So what happened was, and we still have the main points of the GP. Every year, we have a time for a meeting of the national, we don't call it still that time. It's still not, it was not, I think it was still a federation. Anyway, so we meet, and we always have a retreat. Even though during the time, it was mentioned in the GP, but the only thing they tell us, it has to be experienced. Okay, so even though, so every year we have that. We have a meeting of all the delegates, and we have always a short retreat. That was the combination. But every year also, after every event like that, we have to look for a place already for the next year. Kasi ganun kahirap kumuha ng, ng lugar for the next convention or next assembly. In one, before pa, the moment na natapos yung isa, we'll start looking for a place. And then after finding the place, may isa pa kaming gagawin. Magpa-fundraise kami kasi hindi namin mababayaran lahat. So, yan ang sistema noon. You will look for a place and then magpa-fundraising ka. Talaga tapos 72, and that was the time Ate Rory. Then after 72, she joined us. Yun ang talagang role ni Ate Rory. Noon, maggagala na sila na yung saan yung place, and then pagkatapos ng katakot-takot na sulat sa kung saan-saan, just to get money, just to get funds for the convention. So that was the And kami naman ni Bebs, I remember that, we're dreaming of a place for us, okay? We're not even thinking of the whole, but the moment I found a place that was 4 pesos per square meter. Sabi ni Ben, kinurek niya pa ako, 5, hindi 4. Paano naman, we bought what do you call that? Right of way. And we have geodetic engineer and everybody to do all the papers. So it became 5. And then, so we bought the place. How did we buy it? We were also, when I found the place, it was big, but the only thing, because of it's 4 pesos, sabi ko, CLC to. So actually, we're not thinking of ourselves, we were thinking really CLC to. But it turned out it was so big. Kaya we got into the picture. And then, if you go to the one who will fix the papers and give you all the titles, you can go only as much as 9. Or else, you'll go to another government entity who will process subdivision. Pagka you have 10 lots already, you become a subdivision. So, hanggang 9 lang kami. So, yon. So, after that, when we finish all of that, when it's the time of, the other thing is the payment. The payment's always a problem. It was really bad. We were looking at our own, because we were buying also part of the property, so we have to come out also with all our money. And Ben was actually, and Ate Rory maybe, during that time, who were really soliciting all over the world, and all the friends of Ben. So, and then when the time come na, may pera na kami, so we met. Then I told Ben, saan natin lalagay na pangalan? Wala pang CLC noon. Wala pang CLC. So, syempre kami, I think that was Ate Rory, Bebs, and myself. And the three of us said, hindi rin sa akin. Ayoko rin. So, it ended up like that. So, the thing I told Ben, ikaw naman lahat ang nakakuha ng funds. So, sa kapisanan mo na lang ilagay. So, that's how we ended. Okay? So, that's how we ended about ownership of 13. Okay? Without asking anything, but I'm very sure that is for sale. I mean, we will use it. Pero wala kaming about kaninong pangalan or what. Basta ayaw namin, Bes, I remember kami dalawa ni Bes, ayaw namin yan. No, we have our own house, sabi namin ganyan ni Bebs. Tapos nun, okay. Pagkatapos, so we finished all of it, we were able to have the property, and we put up one building first, and we were using it at CLC, matagal yung building and putting up some facilities. Tapos when we use the place, it turned out, every year, ang gumagamit lang CLC. And the rest of the year, walang gumagamit. And then, that was the time that I do not know who were meeting or what, that from the start, we will have it used by other people like us. Always in need of a place, but there is no money. So, sabi namin, talagang tsaka talaga namang lahat ng GP session namin, it's all for the poor. So, it was very easy for us to say na, ang kliyente natin dito, yung kagaya natin, yung tipong sinabi namin, 50 pesos a day ho yan, tumawag, naging 30. Natatawa ako
So,
doon.
Cars,
These are,
so Cars, the goal for that was to develop a center that could be afforded by those who cannot usually afford.
Kaya nga, budget group na lang ang tawag na para maganda-ganda yung tawag. Budget group. Yun. Kasi
so
nga,
the,
the
those
people...
are the goals lang for the center.
Okay. Yeah, the goals for the center, first, it was really for CLC kasi tayo yung walang lugar. So, the retreat, the seminars of the CLC during that time was the place. Very clear yun. Sabi nga, wala tayong pera naman talaga. Ito na yung lugar, so we use that. And then, retreats. So, klarong-klaro yun naman eh. Yun naman ang nangyari. Yun naman ang nangyari. And then, even when we shared it to the other people, it was the parochial school of Indang. Lahat ng lahat ng level ng high school pupunta doon. Di okay talaga. Yun nga lang, yung 50 ginawa 30. So, ganun yung aming, that was the that's how
That's
we
very,
live. That's how we live. So,
Okay. So, and then, what about Punlad daw, sabi ni Donabel. Ito naman si Donabel, ayaw naman siya magkano ako pag pinapano.
no, so, basta ganun it's really for budget group. Maliwanag lang yon.
Okay.
And then, we open it to all the group na ganun ang problema. Okay, so at least maliwanag yun. Up to today, it's like that. Okay.
Nice.
Itong banda, because I want to say something naman. During the pandemic, we answer naman to the needs of the times. No? Hindi naman, namin to, we're trying to ask, we ask the government, if you want to use it as anything, I mean, to help out, because pandemic, gano'n. Pero hindi tayo pumasa sa, ano ba ito?
IATF or whatever.
Oo, yung gano'n, yung isolation, hindi daw. Kasi ang banyo natin group. So,
Okay.
yun, hindi pwede. But what happened is, it was used because our neighbor is the vice mayor. Ginawang lalagyan ng ayuda. Pero, wow, I mean, it was a help for them because they have no place to put the rice and everything.
Okay.
But it was good for us. Kasi when I call up the people serving us there, sabi ko, kumusta kayo dyan? Baka kayo may walang pagkain. Hindi ho, ang dami namin bigas at manok. Talaga, God
So, nahulugan din ng grasya.
ay, lagi. Talaga, I mean,
Okay.
it's always like that. It's always like that. It was always like that, ang 13. So, until now, at saka we're open actually for the use of the government. Example, Christmas party, gano'n.
Yes.
Pinapayagan naman nila for free. I mean,
Okay.
walang problema. Ganon din ang simbahan, parokya.
Community relations.
Oo, meron kaming gano'n. Meron kaming gano'n. Kaya okay lang, So, okay, fast forward for the Punlad. Punlad was created in 1979. No? And it was a product I remember of. We were discussing the time space. Social, political, economic, and spiritual, something like that.
Yes.
Napansin namin, lakas natin sa spiritual, lakas natin sa ganun. Pero wala tayong economics. Ganon. And then, what we thought of is, let's answer the problem of 5-6. Alam niyo ba yung 5-6?
Yes.
Okay. Sabi namin, so, Yun ang ano natin. Yun ang ano natin, para people naman will not be paying high fees or
Yes.
high. So,
Interest
anong
rate.
nangyari? Yun. So, kumuha kami ng isang grupo, mga kasama namin sa college. Tapos noon, na who can give the funds? Yung seed money, kasi we need some seed money.
Oo.
So, yun. So, nabuo yun, inano namin yun sa SEC. This one has papers. Then after that, tama-tama there is, that was the time na merong meeting, world meeting. And Ben, Ati Rory, and sino ba yung nasa Sambuanga? Ebol, June Ebol, they will go for as a delegate. So, but hindi pa gawa yung paper, so umalis na sila. Ako naman ang susunod sa kanila. Doon nag-fundraising sina Ben,
Okay.
Sim. So, nag-fundraising doon.
USAID.
Yan yung mga buhay, talaga. So, yun ang start ng Punlad. I'll give you lang some example of what the people who borrowed from us, Punlad. Kasi ang katabi ng CLC office in Santa Ana is sa market.
Yes. Oo.
So, yung nag-barbecue, banana queue pala, hindi barbecue. Mas mas mura, banana queue. Ang hiniram nila sa akin, we don't know the price, but we ended up buying a cusinilla. You know that small, cusinilla, yung maliit
Or
na.
she can cook the banana cue.
Okay. So, yon ang una nila. So, yon. Mind you, they paid, they borrowed yata 300 pesos. They were paying 20 pesos every Friday. Yan, ano yan? Okay. Tapos, yung gusto magbenta ng itlog pero walang puhunan.
Okay.
Yung mga ganon, maliliit lang. Barbecue, cusinilla, okay, eggs. And then meron nang hiram ng meron siyang makina pero walang bahay. Yung walang paa. So, nang hiram sa amin, okay. Ganun yung mga sa amin. Tapos, ang isang sa atin is yung gumagawa ng belts. Ito, big time ito, sa Bulacan.
Okay.
10,000 yung utang.
Wow,
Walang
malaki.
big time, malaki.
At that time.
At that time, oo. I remember the people, wala na pumasok na kasi so many people naman can bring somebody to But you know, in all of these things, sana, ang gusto namin may formation. Yun ang isang bagay na hindi nangyari. Kasi these people live, I do not know where, really, really far away. Parang gano'n. Tapos, that's the only money they have. Parang hindi naging feasible yung, parang impossible yung
to give the formation.
give a formation. But if I know Ate Rory, nagbibigay yan kahit sa palengke. I mean, you know, yung
Okay.
gano'n. Yung
She
gano'n.
used to go there, to their...
Oo, kasi ang office nila dito, katabi lang palengke, doon
Yes.
lang, kaya nga nila nakilala tong mga ito kasi, you know, doon sila bumibili ng pagkain or something.
Okay.
So, ganon. And then, this one, after a while, we cannot handle it anymore. Some people naman can handle, another CLC group. Yun.
Took over.
Took over, yeah. So, nagpalipat-lipat lang ng handling or management ng punlad.
Okay.
Yun.
Alright.
Okay? Yan ang punlad at saka yung, kanina naririnig ko yun kay
Kay Joanne.
Joanne, oo. As she was saying about, gano'n, yung merong pahihiram, yung mga gano'n, sa angat buhay. Kasi nga there is a 5-6, ang mahal-mahal ng,
Yeah.
Yun.
I think that's in the community engagement.
yeah, oo. Ako, it's so relevant now, kasi very relevant to dalawang to kasi kailangan ng pera ng marami. Pangalawa, seminars pa rin and everything. Parang kailangan pa rin talaga. Tapos wala naman tayong pera. So, at least may mga tao who keeps on reminding us and Donabel, o yan, mura lang yan. Ang mura lang yan. Huwag kayong tataas. Huwag kayong tataas. So, ganun yun. So,
Okay.
what is those are the two things I can say about those two things. Punlad and 13.
Thank you po, Tita Cara. No?
Okay.
Okay. So I think, you know, I mean, sana as we reflect, as we listen, no, we draw from Punlad, no, the opportunity to work directly with individuals and families in need, to be able to support them, and especially as we think about our own apostolic response, in terms of reviving and bringing forward that which is kind of has seed and ready to go. In terms of trust, I thinking about formation as a place of formation for us to be able to be formed, and also formation of others in relationship to the mission. And so we did want to put that before us, just as something to keep us not just thinking about what we've heard about larger society, but also how have we begun to take steps in that relationship building and in that movement, and if there's areas that we may feel called to rejuvenate or to strengthen going forward. The last presentation of this section that we wanted to have was to hear from Tina again. That's why we gave her a little break in the middle so she could recover and shift hats. And so for this next part, we will have just a presentation on YDT. So we'll turn the floor now over to Tina for her presentation.
Magandang hapon muli sa inyong lahat. I am joined this afternoon by two of our members who are here in our meeting. No? Si Ibon Shua, who is our formation coordinator, and also Lindsay Ocampo-Tan. No? So para naman maiba yung ating ginagawa at hindi tayo napapagod sa mahabang pag-upo, tayo ngayon ay susulat sa chat box para sa mga gustong sumali sa inyo. We will deliver this report in a game format just to change the atmosphere and to make sure that we're still all alert, alive, enthusiastic, and that we can all participate with joy. No? With joy in our hearts. Okay, so handa na ba ang ating mga keyboard warriors? Handa na ba? Para sa mga keyboard warriors, pakita nyo nga marunong kayong mag-thumbs up. Maski in person, ganyan lang. O, pwede na yon. Okay? So anong gagawin natin? Magkakaroon tayo ng konting trivia game at saka sa mga in-person, mga participants in person, para magising kayo, you will have to stand up. Okay? Each time that you select something, tayo kayo doon sa part na yon, at kung kayo ang maunahan nyo yung mga keyboard warriors dito, sila ay kayo ang mananalo ng ating mahiwagang premyo. Mamaya, sasabihin ko sa inyo ang mahiwagang premyo na ibibigay natin sa mananalo sa 10 tanong na iaalok namin sa bahaging ito. Handa na ba kayo? Game na?
Game
Alright, sige. Game na. No? So, ang mga on-site, tatayo kayo pag alam niyo yung sagot, at kung kayo ay mauna dun sa mga nagtatype, kayo ang mananalo sa round na yon. Okay ba yon? Malinaw ba yon? Para na rin ma-ehersisyo tayo. No? Okay, so ano ang gagawin natin ngayon? Ito ay isang game of speed and correctness. This will all be truth. Walang fake news po dito sa ating gagawin. At katuwaan lang. Okay, katuwaan lang po. Okay.
Nagkakagulo kami dito sa on-site. Gusto
Dahil
manalo
po,
namin. Sandali. Nagugulo.
dahil po,
Wala. Gustong manalo, naghahanda.
gustong manalo. Naku, lalo na pag nabalitaan nyo kung ano yung ating premyo.
Competitives.
Oo nga. Alam ko naman competitive talaga tayo Kaya we'll capitalize on that. All right.
At si Trish.
All right. So CLCP question number 1. Now, you are not allowed, meron tayong magmo-monitor ng chat box. That will be Lindsay. And kung sino yung mauuna, pag sinabi kong go, saka pa lang kayo pwedeng mag-type. Pag nauna kayo, you're disqualified from getting any recognition there, no? So, pag sinabi kong go, saka pa lang kayo pwedeng tumayo or mag-type. Okay ba 'yon?
To go like
So, sample, no? Unang tanong. What does YDT stand for? Ang ita-type natin ay yung letra lamang. Teka, wala pa akong sinasabing go John Gamit, you're out. Joke.
Microphone mo, Jess.
Oo. Wag mo na. You wait until I say go. Okay? Tapos, letters ang isusulat, hindi yung ibig sabihin. Okay? So, letter A. Is it your diet today? Is it B, youth dance tournament? Is it C, youth declamation team? Or is it D, Youth Development Team. Teka, wala pang sinasabing go. Sabi nga sa kanina, no, listening is so key to building relationships.
Gusto
It is
namin
important that we listen for the go signal.
i-kwento.
Okay ba? Hindi pa ako nagsasabi ng go. Ano? Okay. So A, B, C, or D. Go! Alright. Sino po ang nanalo? Lindsay? Did you spot who it is?
Tita Veron.
Si Tita Veron. Tama ba?
Wow! Ate Cara! Nakalaban ka, Ate Cara. Si Ate-
Teka, okay. Sabi ni Lindsay, si Tita Veron online. No, makipaglaban yung mga on-site, no? At tama kayo, no? It is letter D, Youth Development Team. So palakpakan natin si Tita Ronnie. Alright. Okay. Pangalawa, o sample lang yan ha, ganyan tayo, no? Pag kayo ay sumagot na hindi tamang panahon, sabihin hindi tayo nakikinig. Kailangan makinig. Alright? Makinig at na magkaunawaan. Makinig at na malaman natin kung saan tayo dinadala ng YDT. Okay, pangalawa. The Youth Development Team is the youth counterpart of what team? Wait. A, Formation Institute. B, Secretariat. C, Community Development Team. Or D, Resource Development Team. Wait, talaga si John, oh. Di makawait. And go! Alright. So sino ang nauna? Meron pang S, oh. Meron pang E.
Office of the President.
Office of the President. Alright, sino po ang nanalo? Sino po ang nauna? May nauna ba sa on-site? Pinanonood ko yung on-site, no? Parang walang tumatayo.
Tatayo, tapos magsasabi.
Tatayo. Tapos sasabi, kung maunahan nyo yung nagtatype, kaya lang mas madali yung nagtatype, no? Parang unfair advantage. Lindsay, if you're not mistaken, it's Ange. Wow. Ange, sumasali pala si Ange. Yes. Ano nga ba ang tamang sagot? Community Development Team. No? So ano nga ba yung gawain ng ating YTT? No? So tama, no? Si Ange po daw ang nauna. No? After saying yes, after saying go. So ang ating youth development team, no, supporting YCLCs and guides. At isa sa mga ginagawa namin, no, nagkaroon kami ng mga sessions on the frontiers. Una, yung mental health session. Second, yung ecology session. Nagkaroon din kami ng mga quarterly gatherings as often as we could, no? At meron kaming tinatawag na companionship program, no? We are trying to transition graduating members to the next phase of their membership, no? So from junior high to senior high, from senior to college, from college to young professional. At meron kaming mga pinatakbo na guide sessions, no? Tinatawag naming grace-filled, unique, informative, discerning, and essential sessions. So guide na lang, no? To offer guides, training, and support. No? We also have, this is our way of networking, no? Contact for speakers, para sa mga recollection, mga club exchange, best practices. At patuloy tayo nag-share ng mga modules, particularly yung ating sinaunang inuugat na mga module tulad ng On the Road to God's Dream. Alright. Teka, magkwento naman si Ibon, no? Ibon, these are the things that we have done, no? Babasahin lang ni Ibon ang nangyari from 2020.
Ayan. Maraming salamat, Ate Tina. So, marami tayong nagawa, no? Simula nung taong ng pandemic ng 2020. Ilan lang dito ay ang pagsasabuhay ulit or pagre-revive at revitalize ng connections natin with the moderators and the guides. Nagkaroon din ang YDT ng mental health session para sa YCLCs natin. Kasama po natin dyan si Ate Fanny, si Ate Jamie at si Ate Kat Yuang. At nung taon din yun, nagkaroon ng ecology session at ang pamagat nito ay Cradled by God's Creation. At narinig namin ang mga kwento ni na Ate Lia Esquilio at ni Ate Melay Santos from Davao. Nagkaroon din ng YCLC Community Mass kasama si Father Neo Saicon at iba pang mga proyekto na nakatulong namin ang Episcopal Commission on Youth and the Federation of National Youth Organizations or FNYO. At ito ay nangyari noong December at ang title nito ay Pasulong sa Liwanag Formation Session. So nakasama namin dyan ng iba't ibang mga youth organizations na kabilang sa FNYO. No? At dito sa panghuli, we also made available all materials for our moderators to be able to use in their sessions with their YCLCs. Ayan. And in 2021, up to this year, we had a YCLC community mass with our National Ecclesiastical Assistant, Father Mike Pineda. And it was also an opportunity to have a fellowship with the members and a meeting with the moderators as well. No? So it was parang naging hitting two birds in one stone. And then we had 3 guides training at the beginning of this year, Dreaming with God and the Youth, of course, together with Ate Tina. And another session is Taking Off My Sandals, Journeying into the Holy Ground of the Youth with Jude Liao, and Spiritual Conversations in CLC. And nakasama naman namin dyan si Kuya Alwin Makalalad. And then, the YDT helped in running the CLC National Assembly or National Youth Assembly entitled Arise. No? And we used the program from ECY. No? Yung kanilang National Youth Day program na pinadala nila sa atin noong December 2021. And then we have begun the companionship program to transition members from one stage to another. And then we had discernment sessions for graduating students recently. And we also put up a Google Classroom to cascade the World CLC Youth Gathering input. So yan, ang mga materials po na ito ay binigay natin sa ating mga moderators. And then nagkaroon din ng Christmas party ang YDT members and a recollection ng mga YDT members. Kasama po namin si Father Ed Colmenares. And lahat po na ito ay nangyari during this pandemic.
Ayan, maraming salamat si Yvonne, no? Hindi pa nagtatapos ang ating trivia game, no? Tutuloy tayo. Yvonne, tanungin na natin yung susunod.
Yan, para po sa ating third question, CLC is an active member of the FNYO in the Philippines. No? Titingnan natin kung nakinig po kayo sa sinabi ko kanina. What does FNYO stand for? A. First National Youth Organization. B. Federation of National Youth Organizations. Or C. Family, Nature, and Youth Organization. Or D. Family of National Youth Organizations. Okay. And go. Yung bibilis.
Walang tumayo sa on-site. Ano ba yan? Mabibigat ng mga kwet.
Ang gagaling naman ng mga dito sa online na sa ating Zoom, Ate Tina, ang gagaling ng ating mga keyboard warriors. At yung katabi ko
si
dito,
Ange, no?
si Ate
Si
Ange ang
Baka may
naunang
nakalik
sumagot.
na mga sagot para kay Ange, no? Grabe.
Wala naman.
Tama ba ang sagot ni Ange? Tignan natin.
At ang tamang sagot ay B. Ayan. Congratulations,
Ayan, tama
Ate
si Ange. Alright. Okay. Mabilis ang signal ni Ange. Okay. Babagal siguro yung sa iba. Patuloy tayo. Alright. Question number 4.
Question number 4. When did this batch of YDT members begin meeting? A. Was it in 2017? B. 2007? Kakagraduate ko lang yan. C. 1997? Or D. 2020? And go. Oops. Ayan. Nasaan ang ating mga keyboard warriors?
1970.
Walang nag-try sa on-site na. Wala akong nakitang tumayo.
Wala
Sige.
pa.
Ang nauna
Ten.
yata, si
Okay.
Ate Joy. Tama? Pero, nauna nga siya. Pero ano yung sagot? Ang tamang sagot ay
Di. Ayan. Nung 2020 lang po. No?
2020. So, ang ating panalo ay si
Kuya John.
Juan. Alright.
Congratulations.
Wow.
So, ang YDT
Congratulations.
po ay pandemic baby.
Yes.
Ayan.
Mamaya pa yung premyo. Alwin naman, lumaro ka muna.
Okay, for question number 5. The World CLC had a World CLC Youth Gathering online, which originally, supposedly dapat sa Loyola, Spain po ito, in 2021, last year. Participated in by 3 of our youth members. The question is, who was not one of the youth participants? A. Kimberly Chua. B. Miles Ong. C. Jody Sim. Or D. Reyna May Lomox.
Wait! Manalo man lang kayo dito, nakakahiya on-site.
Alright, ready? Set.
Quick.
Grabe yan.
Wait lang
Ready?
po.
Set.
Hirap.
Go!
So, sino? Sino ang ating nanalo? Wait. Sino muna yung unang sumagot ng correct after we said go? Si Mel Gibson daw. Naku, wala siya sa choices. Sorry.
I think it was Tita Veron po. Ulit.
Tita Veron. Pero tignan muna natin. Anong sagot ni Tita Veron? Tama ba? Tignan muna natin. Ang sagot ay si Jody Sim. No? Ito kasi yung ating mga kabataan. Alright?
Lakas yan.
Okay. Hindi ko na kinuha yung picture ni Tito Jody. Kilala na natin siya. Andito ka ba, Tito Jody? Sayang. Pinagkakatuwaan ka namin pero wala ka dito. Alright. Sige, magpatuloy po tayo.
Okay, tuloy po tayo sa pang-anim nating tanong. The CLC YDT helps in developing the youth in our Philippine regions only. True or false?
Ayan na.
Ready, set, go!
Walang tumayo sa on-site. Mabibigat talaga ang mga puwet. Maraming kinain o talagang nakaglue, nakastrap. Ang nauna raw ay si Jasper. Tignan muna natin kung tama ang kanyang sagot. Ang sagot ni Jasper ay false. Tignan natin kung tama. Yay! Tama si Jasper.
Kuya Jasper po ay nasa online.
Wow.
Ay nasa on-site po natin.
On-site at online. Kaya pala.
10
Oh.
points. 10 points on-site.
Pero wala pang nakakadalawang sagot, no? Meron na bang nakadalawang panalo? Lahat 1 point pa lang?
Meron na po ate.
Si Ange
Tita
ba?
Veron.
Si
Si
Veron.
Tita Veron and si Ate Ange.
Oh, no, sige. All right, next trivia. Ayan,
Alright.
ito pala, no? Kasi hindi totoo yan dahil si Reyna May ay now involved in the World CLC Youth Team Working Group. It consists of 12 representatives from 6 regions across the globe, accompanied by World Exco members, including newly co-opted youth members. No? So yung first gathering was this July 22. No? And some of their concerns include strengthening youth involvement in the church, and then a call to collaborate with communities from other nations in solving concerns in their community. Take note, not every community has young members. No? So sharing strengths of the community to alleviate the weakness of another. No? So it's really a move to gather the youth annually also. They desire to commune in person. They desire to specifically address the needs of our youth communities with the help of the group in other nations. Okay, next question.
Alright. Next question po natin. Fresh
Hindi
grads.
pala question to, no? Statement
Ay.
lang. Answerable by true or false.
Fresh grads of college CLCs automatically become members of a young pro community. True or false? Okay, ready, set, Go!
Ang bilis-bilis.
Yes.
Wala.
Sino ang ating unang competitive to
Nauna po ulit si Kuya Jasper.
Si Jasper. Tignan natin kung
Ano po
tama ang
kaya
sagot ni
ang tamang
Jasper.
sagot?
Oo. Okay.
Oh,
Tamang sagot.
Yay!
Yay! Hindi
Congrats.
na nagpapatugtog yung aking mahiwagang claps. Okay. So Jasper now has 2 points, no? Along with Tita Ronnie with 2 and Ange with 2.
Oh.
On,
Ayan.
on-site.
Okay, so siguro magandang sabihin na hindi automatic 'yon, no? When they graduate from their level, sila ay dumadaan ngayon, no? Sinisimulan namin 'tong gawin ay isang companionship program, no? So meron po tayong mga dumaan sa ating first companionship program, isang discernment session na ginawa natin this July, at nagkaroon po tayo ng 8 students from junior high school na gustong magpatuloy sa senior high school. 8 na seniors na gusto magpatuloy sa college, at 30 college to young professional groups. No? What does this mean? We'll need guides. We'll need to form communities where there are no communities. And we need to really listen, no, to this desire, no, coming from our own youth. Okay. So question number 8.
All right. Next question. How many members make up the YDT? A, 6, B, 8, C,
Sorry, mali. Hindi ko na pwede. 18 yan, 18.
18, or D, 5. Ready? Ready? Ready, set, go!
Sabi ko na nga, hindi ako makikita. Dito na lang pala ako.
Kita kayo.
Tumayo si Kuya Jasper on site.
Ayan, nag-raise ng kamay.
Isagot mo.
Ayan, Kuya
Ano
Jasper.
pang ibang gusto mag-try? Dalawa lang ang sumubok.
Answer A, 6.
6.
A,
Okay.
6.
Tignan nga natin. Ano ang tamang
Ano po kaya
sagot?
tamang sagot, ate?
Oo. Ang tamang sagot ay
D, 5.
sino po ang YDT? No? Siguro bigyan ko kayo ng historical. Ayan. Wala palang nanalo, meron akong clap. Ang galing-galing. Alright. Sige. Ito yung original group namin, no? Pag sinabing member, kasama na rin ako dyan kahit na technically I'm their mentor, tormentor. So nagsimula kami ng 2000, no? June, 6 kami, no? And then last year we were joined by Lindsay and Reina. And then this year we were joined by Gladys, no? So we started out with 6. Last year we received 2 more. This year we received 1 more, but we have lost our more seasoned members, no? One by one, no? Leaving 5 of us, no? So ano ang ibig sabihin nito? Kailangan namin ng tulong, no? More help, more people, no? Their lives are really in flux. At kapag nagbabago yung buhay, nagbabago yung location ng buhay, nagbabago yung status in life, umaakyat sa kanilang ladder position, no? Nagbabago rin ang kanilang sitwasyon. Now, papanoorin niyo muna tong next video na ito para makasagot sa mga susunod na tanong. Manood ng masinsinan. Ay, sorry. Wala raw sound. Sandali lamang. Sandali lang. Kala ko pa naman, napakaganda na ng ating ginagawa. Ay, hindi pala naririnig. Ay, wala pala kasing share sound. Ayan. Ulit natin yan. Ayan, palakpakan din natin si Bernard Borja na nag-relocate na sa New York. Gumawa nito, no? So take note lang, 2021 po 'yan. So baka may mga pagbabago, no? So kung kayo ay nanonood at kung kayo ay nag-a-attend ng mga ibang mga sessions, kung inyong pinakikinggan ang nangyayari sa ating community, baka masagot nyo ito ng tama. How many school-based YCLCs do we have in the Philippines at the end of school year 2021-2022? Yan ay makikita natin talaga sa video, no? Una, 22. Pangalawa, 12. Pangatlo, 19. At letter D, 15. Ready, set, go.
27 yung ano. Yung 27 to.
Okay. Ang nauna, tama kaya ang sagot, no? So kinakailangan nating tignan kung yung nauna na si Ange ay tama. So pag sinabi nating school-based, no, ito lang yung mga nasa eskwelahan, no? So tama kaya si Ange. Ang sagot ay yan, 15. At sino ang sumagot ng letter D? Can
Tito
someone help me?
Lani.
Si Tito?
Lani.
Parang, ayan, nauna si Tito Lani pala. 15, nagbilang si Tito Lani. Thank you. Yay! Okay. So sino-sino itong mga to? Isang mabilis na pagtingin. Okay. Lahat ng nakapula or nakapink, kung ano man yan, lumalabas sa screen ninyo, ay nagsimula lamang last year. So pandemic babies ang mga ito. No? Meron na tayong junior high school. Okay. Meron din tayong mga nawalang communities or naging inactive or tumigil na mag-meeting dahil naghihintay muna mag-face-to-face. Alright, patuloy na tayo. Yvonne?
Okay. How many young pro YCLCs do we have in the Philippines as of 2022?
Siyempre, hindi na yan kasama dun sa video kasi medyo may pagbabago ng kaunti.
A, 7, B, 11, C, 23, or D, 6? Ready? And go! Okay. Nakita kong tumayo si Kuya Jasper on site.
Sige. B11, final answer.
Final
May
answer.
final answer.
O sige, tignan natin kung ano yung final answer. Ha ha ha!
Ang tamang sagot ay A.
Ito, sino ang sumagot ng 7 pero dapat A ang sinulat? So, sino ang sumagot ng A?
Ang sumagot po ng A
Sagot na,
ay si Ate Richelle.
Yehey!
Mula sa Cebu. Congratulations.
Technically tama si Tita Connie, pero not following instructions, write the letter only. Alright, sino itong mga to? Sa aming pagkakaalam, ito yung mga nag-register pa lamang. Kung wala dito yung pangalan ng community na yan, ibig sabihin, hindi pa sila nagre-register with the community development team or hindi pa nagpaparamdam sa amin in a more formal way. Alam namin merong mga communities na ganito, pero hindi pa talaga gustong maging bahagi sa roster. No? Okay po? Sige po. Patuloy na tayo, no? Ngayon, bilang pagtatapos, no? Tapos na yung ating ano, sino yung ating nanalo? Sino pinakamaraming sagot na tama?
Tatlo yun.
Ang ating hurado? Meron tayong three-way tie, no? Alright, so Tita Veron, Ange, and Jasper, you are now the lucky recipients of a free all-day recollection from FI.
Yay!
Maraming salamat sa FI. Alright, libre naman talaga lahat ng mga recollection ng FI, no, para sa atin. Okay, now, we did not share this with you in a fun way para magkatuwaan lang. Siyempre, may kailangan kami sa inyo. And this is the more serious part. No? You have seen how membership is shifting in our own team, a reality that is real because of the particular context of our youth. No? One can be young, and not be very stable in terms of life situation, no? So kailangan namin ng more YDT members, no? Hindi kinakailangang bata, hindi yan prerequisite to be a member of the YDT. One just has to have the heart, be young at heart, to be able to journey with the young. Second, kailangan namin ng guides. Annually, tuwing tayo ay magpapagraduate ng isang Ateneo College, CLC group, no? Kinakailangang maging handa tayo na tanggapin ang mga ito into our young pro communities at kailangan natin ng mga guides. Kung gusto nating dumami, mahalaga na ma-transition natin sila sa next phase. So the life of our community really depends on our ability to grow from our youth and to also sustain their growth. We need people with sufficient formation in the way of life, at least a member maybe of an observer community with at least a temporary commitment, a willingness to journey, and also a sufficient life stability, no? May personal clarity para naman they can walk the pilgrim path with a young group. And then thirdly, resources for formation. Kailangan natin ng 3 P, no? So pwede kayong maging resource as a person available for activities or as a speaker. Pwede ka ring maging P, tulong sa process of prayer, no? Pwede ka ring mag-provide ng paggabay, no? Mentorship, at pwede ka ring maghanda ng maraming limpak-limpak na pera, no? So, gusto namin din yung 3 P na yan, no? Makakatulong yan kasi nagtitipid talaga kami para makabili ng pagkain, no? Okay. So, may mga burning questions po ba tayo na pwede naming sagutin bilang YDP?
Siguro we have time for 1 or 2 clarificatory questions if needed. Jasper.
Jasper.
Hello. So, Tina, thank you for the presentation and the energizing game. Salamat. Okay, tumatayo. Anyway, so quick question lang. I know that we need a lot of resources, as you just mentioned, but as I saw, yung mga schools na mayroong
YCLC.
may YCLC, mostly like Jesuit schools or Catholic schools. Is there also a plan in the future to actually expand this to like even public high schools or other schools? Ano lang in general? Yan.
Ako, di pa namin na pag-iisipan yon dahil we are working with our given resources. And the resource that we do not have at the moment is the personal, parang people resource. No? Until we have a clear way to supply guides, to guide the people who will moderate these schools, medyo mahirap mangarap ng ganon. Pero hindi imposibleng pangarapin. Di ba? Hindi naman imposible. Pwede. Kasi meron na tayong mga communities ng mga taong nagtuturo sa mga public schools. So potentially, pwedeng mangyari. Pero dahil nasa pandemya tayo, we have to work with our givens. No? Magandang pangarapin. Salamat.
Any last clarifications?
I just want to say that Tina and I were discussing this topic just the other day because this is something that I've been trying to promote, was to get YCLCs in more schools. It's really about getting the guides for them in the schools because even just Catholic schools, we haven't even saturated the possible thing. So parang ang conclusion namin is we need more teacher communities who will help. That's all. Okay. Our Lib is going to...
Yeah, so maybe just take a moment if we can thank everybody who shared over the course of this last little, from the GFE to Punlad and Trece to YDT, just a moment of thanks. Maybe we could just take a moment and pause, just kind of gathering the reflections, not just of the last hour, but really since we began this morning. No, Tita Rani walked us through a bit of reflection about what it means to be disposable and what it means to share in mission, the role of DSSE in the place of allowing ourselves to help to prepare the world to become the complete kingdom of God that Itaitsi mentioned. Then, of course, we had a chance to listen and to reflect upon the reality of our LGUs. We heard from Joanne about Galing Pook and Angat Buhay, and thinking about ways in which we can continue to support people, reminding ourselves that the vision of the nation is not ours alone, but one that we share with all. A reminder that relationships take time to build, and that sometimes the commitment is to take small steps and allow them to evolve over time. And then some of the small steps we've taken as a community in formation, in creating places for formation, in trying to support those who are in need. And in particular, our youth.